Yes, so Studio X at the University of Rochester, and Heather Haseley, who's the co-executive director of Learning Futures at Arizona State University. Really pleased to have the two of you here with me today. I find this topic really interesting of administering XR programs. Rebecca, some of what Rebecca had to say did touch on some of the issues there. And, there are so many things to consider and talk about. But let's start out by having you tell us about your programs. What do they consist of? What do they look like?
Heather, do you want to go first?
Emily, I cede to you. You're first in the lineup.
Okay. Do you mind if I share my screen, Karen?
That would be perfectly fine. Yes, please do.
All right. So I thought I would talk just a little bit about how we got to Studio X and what we're doing there. So is my slideshow showing okay?
Yep. Yes.
Great. So as the hub for extended reality at University of Rochester, Studio X fosters a community of cross-disciplinary collaboration, exploration, and peer-to-peer learning that lowers barriers to entry, inspires experimentation, and drives innovative research and teaching in immersive technologies. But how did we get to Studio X, and why would we build a space like this in the library? XR is a strategic research focus at University of Rochester, and we already had a large number of researchers working on various aspects of XR. So we had over 50 researchers across disciplines and across our colleges. But our faculty and administration also understood that we need a unified approach for training our students and supporting our faculty, which I think we've heard a lot about today. And because XR, of course, is inherently interdisciplinary, we needed a space that was accessible and welcoming to everyone on campus. So enter the library. Planning for Studio X included extensive user research, and Lauren DeMonte, who is our Associate Dean for Learning Research and Digital Strategies, used design thinking and hands-on problem solving to surface the user needs around the physical requirements for the space and also to create a vision for the program. And we held 4 design charrette sessions, and we engaged over 120 participants. And really what we learned boiled down to issues of access. People wanted access to space to work collaboratively that is welcoming to students from across the college. They wanted access to expertise from staff and peers that lower barriers to entry. And they wanted access to technology, but with the understanding that the technology is constantly advancing, which of course we've all talked about today as well. Finally, and maybe most importantly, they wanted access to community. Our faculty and students wanted a space where they could connect and collaborate with others, learn across disciplines, and stay current on emerging trends. So what do we have? We know that future-proofing for Studio X will be one of our ongoing challenges since the technology is rapidly changing. And so much of our fundraising efforts have been focused on building an endowment to help sustain our technology budget. Currently, we have a lending library that prioritizes entry-level technology, and students, faculty, and staff can reserve equipment for their use in the space and also to take home. We have a wide range of programming from introductory workshops to collaborations with campus partners like our Center for Entrepreneurship. We have a speaker series, we have drop-in events, we have office hours. A lot of this programming is really developed and centered on our students, and they help develop workshops. They propose competitions like our Beat Saber competition. And then we also have a lot of faculty partnerships. So we've already had a lot of buy-in and course integrations. And I want to note that this is just a sampling, but they're really from across the college. So our first class in Studio X last fall when we opened was a writing, speaking, and argument class, which is like our comp, it's our freshman comp course. And we had a professor there whose background was in philosophy, and she had the students try on headsets and go through experiences. And then their first writing assignment was, how does extended reality change what we know to be true? And I really like the idea that it's not just our STEM students who are coming and experiencing this and being in our space. And then finally, I would be remiss if I didn't note this is only possible because we have tremendous amount of people across our library and our university who support our efforts. As you know, providing space and programming and expertise to support research and projects that are inherently interdisciplinary, cutting edge, and use technology that is constantly changing requires many hands and patience and creativity. So I'm going to stop there and stop sharing.
Great. Wow, that's amazing. And I will say, too, that Studio X has a really wonderful website that I encourage those of you who are interested to explore. Yeah. Um, Heather, please tell us about what you have going on at ASU.
I can't tell you about everything that's going on at ASU. We're pretty big. So, but I will share my screen and tell you a little bit about what we're doing in the XR space. Okay, let's see. It will not let me share for some reason. Give me 2 seconds. And I should be able to share now, I hope. All right, are we seeing if I put on my slideshow, are we seeing it now?
No, I am not seeing it. Let's see if we can, perhaps you could email that to me and I can see if I can pull it up for you.
All right, I am gonna
We'll try to
give
make
you a
that
little, yeah, right, quickly. So one of the things I'll start to do while I email this link out is that I am the co-executive director of a unit called Learning Futures and at Arizona State University. And for those of you who aren't as familiar with Arizona State University, although Mina was on earlier today, so if you were watching, you got to see Mina. We're about 140,000 students across online and in person. And so because of that, we have a lot of people doing extended reality related initiatives across the entire institution. So we are one group of many. And I think that has really helped us move forward in a really positive and more expeditious way. Is sort of our size actually benefits us in that way. Did you happen to get the thing in the private chat?
I did, Heather. I was looking for it elsewhere. I apologize. So I'm going to try to share my screen now and show it to you there. Let's see. I am going to share it there. Okay. We're going to do the slideshow. Okay. All right. How's that?
I am also not seeing your screen.
Okay. All right. Let me see.
Well, we're all really, so that's okay. I'll keep going through.
I think I have a solution.
So
keep right.
Ooh.
Keep talking, and I will yes, and I will work on.
So I'm going to talk through the slides as if they're there, and we'll just keep going forward. How about that?
Okay,
so
good.
You know, some of the other areas to highlight at ASU that are really doing this work, and I would be remiss to not mention them, is we have Dreamscape Learn, which is a major initiative with Dreamscape Immersive, the company, and ASU partnered with them to create Dreamscape Learn, which are narrative-based immersive experiences. We have us at Learning Futures. We have our new Mix Center, which is opening in the fall, which is our Herberger Institute for Design and the Arts is actually really expanding their extended reality curriculum. And excuse me, there are 3 graduate degrees being launched in extended reality. So these are brand new graduate degrees in a brand new beautiful building that will support this. We also opened the LA Examiner building, and we are in the ASU California Center, which is hosting immersive filmmaking courses and programs. And then our Thunderbird College has a whole set of immersive initiatives that they've undertaken. So I just want to point out the breadth of ASU's immersive work. But Learning Futures, we are what I would call an enterprise unit at ASU. Oh my gosh, we're on slide 3.
Yes, slide 3. Good. There we go.
All right. So we're an enterprise unit at ASU, and we collaborate with people across the institution, and we think about the future 3 to 5 years from now. And we really think about it as how could we imagine it, and how can we architect it towards this idea of scale and the scale of ASU. And then we have a studio that really that builds it, and it's student-based. And then we have an emporium where we show it to people and really immerse them in it. But it's all based off of these values. And when we started Learning Futures, my co-executive director and I we're about 3.5 years old. We spent the first 6 months really coming to what these values are, because you can't imagine a single future of learning, right? We're learning futures. None of us has a crystal ball. But what we can do is have a set of values that really help us drive toward that future. And XR fits in really well with these values, and particularly WebXR. The idea of having it more inclusive and accessible to more people, to have students have more agency over their learning, to really think about them having the ability to collaborate through social networks. We think about mindsets, not just skills. So we're not just upskilling people, we're talking about mindsets. And we think learners should be creative, and we think they should be the creators of their own learning. Next slide. And so in these 3 buckets, we really have our collaboratory, where we imagine and architect that space and do a lot of our design work. And we bring collective action groups. So we have a group of partners, external partners. We have Verizon, we have Zoom, we have Logitech, we have Unity, who work with us as our external partners to really bring in, alongside our faculty, alongside our students, to really imagine what that future could be and what it could look like, and what are the technologies we need to underpin it. And then our studios, as I mentioned, are student-led, student-run. So we have 70 students that we actually employ. We pay them to work in our studios and build the proof of concepts and prototypes and minimum viable products for these imagined states. So then we can inform how the university can scale them. And then we have an emporium, and that's really, it's intentionally a magical term, because we want people to feel like it's an experience when they come in. We don't want it to just be a showcase or an open house, but we want them to feel like it is a lot of people feel like it's unattainable to do some of these things, but we want to show them it's not. Let's peek behind the curtain of the magic and show you that it really is attainable, and you can imagine and dream with us. So if you go to the next slide, this is my team. This is our team. It's me and Dan are the co-executive directors. We have one person over each of our areas, and then we have, as you saw, we have about 70 students, and then we have a whole group of people who support our students and who mentor them and who guide them. Their faculty, their staff, they're our Verizon partners, they're our Logitech partners. They actually are people both inside and outside the institution, who help to mentor and partner with our students. Next slide. So I just want to give you one quick update on our studio, because I think this is the most amazing part, where we're building the most of our extended reality in our space, and that's in our studios. And next slide will show you that we have 3 really ways that we operate in the studio. So we do ASU projects, right? We're a Learning Futures. We make things for ASU. We test things out for ASU. We help our instructors at ASU. The next is partner projects. So we actually fund ourselves. One of the ideas is, what's the funding mechanism? We actually fund part of our work by doing external work for partners, and that you can see some of our partners on screen and that we've done work for, and they pay for our student time to actually start to do this. But the other thing we do is we upskill our creators. So our creators in our own studio, we actually give them 20% of the time, and we upskill them, and we pay them for that. But we also upskill our broader community. So our students, similar to Emily's, actually run the workshops, and they take ownership of them, and they actually do upskill the broader community in these skills of the future. So I think that we feel really lucky to have so many students working with us in this model. And then people always ask me, well, how do you manage those students? And we operate a lot like an indie game studio. So if you look at the next slide, we have our students sequence into a series of guilds. And then in those guilds, there are about 10 to 12 students in each guild. And then they are sequenced into interdisciplinary projects. And one of the most amazing things that I've seen in our students is actually they switch from semester to semester. So a student might go as far from like game engine or cloud engineering all the way to concept design, because they really do want to learn the breadth of skills. And we're really starting to get a lot of feedback from partners saying, hey, how do we hire your students? Because they're coming in really job ready, because they have been leading these projects. So that's us. That's who we are. And if there's time later, I've got a little slide at the end that just tells you how to contact us. So
that's amazing. Yes, hearing about these programs is really, I think, helpful for others who are interested. And in some cases, we have faculty members who are working more or less on their own, trying to convince administrators and those at the university to fund these sorts of programs and to give them the resources that are needed to put them together. So being able to see how these are laid out is really, really very helpful. And I love the fact that there was thought put into values and sort of starting there, starting with those kinds of values rather than just, oh, we've got this tech, right? There was a lot of intentional design that went into these programs, and it shows. And it's really impressive what you all are doing. And so we go from values to the practicality of it, to having students learn actual practical skills, right? To have them doing things. And I think it's really interesting that you talked, Heather, about the way that the program supports itself through working with businesses in the community.
We do have the next panel ready to jump in and take over that design part and talk about gamification. So I'm really glad that Heather and Emily had a chance to share what they're working on, because I think it's so interesting, especially from an administrative standpoint. I learned a lot. I took a lot of notes actually just on what you guys were talking, and I'll highlight them a little bit later. But thank you so much, both of you, for joining today and sharing your work. It's really groundbreaking. Everything today is groundbreaking. It's so awesome.
It is. Yes. Really appreciate what you shared with us, and we look forward to seeing more of you in the future.
Thanks so much, everybody.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, everyone.